There is to be no contact with the complainant. Chapter 62 registration, $1,500 fine, time and money to rank and current, and the court will sentence you to 6 years in the prison.
Justice served or justice failed? If you were the judge in this case, would you still make the same call?
2021 CR 9658, State of Texas versus Manuel Martinez. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Michael Villarreal for the state.
For the defense?
John Kuntz and Megan Enriquez for Mr. Martinez.
And are you Mr. Martinez?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you entered a plea on April 26th to the offense, the lesser included offense of indecency with child by exposure. Punishment to be assessed at a cap of 8 years. And the state is opposing your application for deferred adjudication. There's Chapter 62 registration and no contact with the complainant. Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report?
Yes, Judge.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections, state?
No, Your Honor.
Defense, any
No.
objections?
No, Your Honor.
All right. And any witnesses, state?
No, just arguing, Judge.
Any
Just
witness?
one witness, Judge, my client's mother, but before we even get started, I submitted some additional letters to the court this morning. I gave a copy to the prosecution as well from family members and former teacher and things like that on his behalf.
All right, any objections to the court reviewing those documents?
No, Your Honor. Mr. Kuntz provided them to me, and the state has no objection for the court's review.
All right, court will review the documents. And defense, call your first witness.
Okay, Nora?
I already signed this. I've already signed this. All right, could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand if you could state your name for the record, please.
Nora Elizabeth Martinez.
All right, defense.
Thank you. Good morning, Nora. Make sure you speak up because the judge has to hear everything, but also the court reporter is transcribing everything that we're saying, okay? Who are you to Manuel?
His mother.
Okay, and what do you call him?
Meme.
Mehmet? Okay, and how old is Mehmet now?
19.
And let's talk about what sort of child Mehmet was. Tell the judge what sort of kid he was.
A clown, a perfectionist. He strived for a 100% in math every single year. And even when graduating, he was in pre-cal and calculus. He just wanted to do better than everybody else and outperform to make me happy because I was a strict mom as far as grades. If they got anything on a C, they were grounded. It was A and B shift the whole way. There was no excuses. I wanted better for my boys. I have another 17-year-old. So that was just my rules. And it was like, you either get an A or a B or you get grounded. And it was a very tension.
How many children do you have?
2.
All right. And so Mehmet is your older child. Now, how old was he back in the spring of last year, 2021? Was he 17?
He had just turned 18.
Okay. And how long has he been locked up now? Was he locked up in early August?
Correct, about a month shy of a year.
All right. So he's been in custody now at the jail for almost a year.
Correct.
Now, you and I have discussed, we've had numerous phone conversations and we've discussed some more this morning about this whole situation involving your son. Obviously, this is especially personal for you, not just because it's your son, but this allegation involves someone that was at your daycare.
Correct.
Let's talk to the judge about the business you used to have and how many children you took care of and things like that.
I've been in child development since 1993. I did go to school for my basics for RN. I didn't like the program. I always came back to children, always. And went back to get some business classes and kept with my TA classes, teaching assistant classes. And I opened a home daycare in August of 2016. Not at this residence, but at a prior one. And I was very successful in it because my heart's always been in it. And that's what provided our roof over our heads, everything, and what my kids needed for them to succeed in life.
Did you ever have any indication that Mehmet was going to cause any problems with any of these children?
Never. He was either at practice for whatever he was doing, for example, robotics, chess, wrestling. He was a very good prospect to go to state last year. And he quit because he wanted to help me pay bills. We moved out on our own and everything. We were doing really good with the daycare and everything. And weeks before qualifying for state, he went to talk to his coach. I said, I have to quit. He's like, you can't do this to me, because he was retiring that year, his coach. And he's like, you can't do this to me. We're so close. And he's like, I have to help. My family comes first. We're at a totally different spot in our lives. And my brother and my mom come before wrestling. And wrestling was his life. So the coach was like shocked. And that we had different,
If you had had any indication that your son was causing any problems, whether it was physical or sexual or anything with these children, would you have had him working or being around any of these children?
Never. Let me give you an example. My other son had stole a small car from Walmart. He told me when we were in the store one year, and as we were, they thought we were leaving. I told him to put the toy back, of course. As we were leaving, there was a police officer on duty at Walmart. And I said, excuse me, can I have a couple minutes of your time? And he was like, sure, what do you need? And I said, my other son just told me my son was like, oh.
Yeah.
And I have pictures of it because I took pictures of them. I got the card of the police officer and I said, if I don't stop you now, this is not something for your future. So, like we've just spoken, the law is the law. There's rules in place for everything. And I would never put anybody, because that's been my biggest fear since my kids were little. Because it's just part of society.
And your son has denied these allegations.
Correct.
He has denied them. He pled no contest. He did not plead guilty. He pled no contest, which is saying, Judge, I'm not saying I did it. Do you believe your son?
I do, for the reason that home daycare, I don't have a backup. Okay. It's me, myself, and I, so I'm always home. I'm always there. My home, the present home, is the same one. It's an open concept. You look here, you can see there. I mean, you turn around. And the furthest I would go would be the garage, which I measured my steps. It's 19 steps to throw my trash in the garage and 19 steps back to that same location of my trash can in my kitchen. So that's the furthest I would go without even, if someone was, I couldn't see behind me. Of course, I don't have eyes behind my head. But then I'm walking back, even in my living room, it's all open concept, so it's like, I have to be there, because I'm responsible and I'm the one that was registered with the state. And I strive to be 100% with zero deficiencies on every single inspection. And I'm very proud of that.
You obviously knew it was an Emmeline, is her name? Emmeline?
Her nickname is Emmy.
Okay.
I don't remember the full person.
Okay, but Emmy is the complainant in this case, correct? And so she was at your daycare?
She had started with me in early February before the freeze week. She was having a lot of problems at her daycare center. She was throwing a lot of tantrums. She didn't want to go back. There was a huge turnover at her church daycare.
Prior to coming to yours?
Prior to coming to me.
Right.
So Mom reached out to me. I know Mom since before he was born, from Harlingen, because we're from Harlingen. They were originally from Corpus. They got moved down there because I was working at Time Warner Cable. And that's where I met her. Then, of course, we parted ways and everything. Facebook came on and, hey, I know you, whatever. And then she had a marketing degree, but changed it to teaching. And she's like, she's having a really hard problem. She's clinging to me. She's crying. She makes our hearts break when we leave her at daycare. This went on for about 2 to 3 weeks when the parents said, this isn't working. Something's going on and we need to pull her from daycare. So they came and toured the house. They called a couple of times, asked a lot of questions. They came and toured the house, and then they told me, we'll get back to you in a couple of days. They were not even home when she was calling me. She's like, we're going to go ahead and register her. Can she start the following Monday? I said, of course. So she started the following Monday, and from night and day, she never cried, never threw a tantrum, never nothing. It was just a smile, goodbye, Miss Nora. And she had a little, like a lovey blanket that she would carry. And I didn't care she carried that. If they're comfortable, that's what they need. And never had any problems, never cried at drop-off pickup. Even the last time that she was picked up, "Bye, Miss Nora, see you tomorrow." You know, the same little routine every single day. So yeah, no, there was never. But prior, yes, because she had that for 2 to 3 weeks at the old daycare. But once with me, no, she had no tantrums and nothing.
So you know we're here begging the judge to place your son on probation, right? Do you think he will follow the rules that the judge requires?
He doesn't have a choice because he knows the morals and everything, how he was raised. His support system from me, from his brother, stepfather, and our community, you know, and everybody that, you know, that we still are involved with and everything. He can be very successful. He was supposed to start college at Northwest, just 3-4 minutes from the house last fall, you know, so he missed this whole year. So I was a year behind. So most definitely he will be successful because that's his goal, to go back to school. He was already registered to start and everything before he got arrested. You know, we're a goal-oriented family, you know, so we're here, do or die, and we're going to support him, and he will be successful because that's who he is, who he wants to be.
Okay, I have nothing further from you. The prosecutor may ask you some questions and we'll go from there.
I just have a couple questions for you. So if I'm understanding this correctly, you do not believe that your son committed this offense? Correct. And so you're looking at really everything through that lens, right? That he actually didn't commit this, right?
Correct, not as mom lens, but as a person who he is. Now, I'm not saying nothing could have happened to her. You know, if something happened to her, I understand that. But my residence is not the only residence she went to. And that weekend before, she was in Corpus. They were in Corpus that weekend before. The reason I remember that is because on Friday, mom picked her up early because it was girls. It was just the 3 girls.
Okay, and I'm just going to stop you right there. It's kind of simple for me in the sense of either you believe this child, as you called her, or you don't believe her. So it's fair to say you don't believe her.
I don't believe that my son did this to her.
Okay. I have no other questions.
All right, any
I have
follow-up?
nothing further.
All right, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the court had a chance to review the documents that were submitted by the
Wonderful.
defense. Any other witnesses from either side?
No other witnesses, Judge.
All right, state to your post.
Yes, Your Honor. And just, I know that you said it was a cap 8, but I think it's just an 8.
No, it's 8,
Okay.
just 8.
And so obviously we are opposing his application. We're looking at the time of the offense, a 5-year-old that this defendant perpetrated on, and a 5-year-old who now is a 6-year-old who is taking depression medications. If you noted in the PSI that this victim, who already at the age of 6 now, is taking Zoloft. She's maintained her outcry. There's no issues about her credibility or consistency. And she even provides details about his name and what he calls it, and even what's consistent with what mom testified to today. I understand that he is young, but this victim was very young. If this would have been from a touching to a penetrating, we're talking about a super aggravated sexual assault of a child. So we get to understand the gravity of this case and something that this child, you know, as noted in the PSI, is going to be dealing with for the rest of their lives. And so, despite his youth, I think the court has to consider the youth of the victim on this case and the effect that it's had on her and the egregious nature of this offense. And so, based on all of that, we're asking that you deny his application and sentence him to 8 years in prison.
Defense.
Judge, kind of 2 things I'd like for you to look at. First of all, if the court believes that he committed the crime, then we look at what is the appropriate punishment. He was 17 at the time this offense was alleged to have occurred. He was a high school senior in his spring semester right before graduation. He was a very young man. You've heard he has no criminal history. He has a great family support, all this sort of stuff. Under normal circumstances, even if he had committed this crime, this is someone who's sort of in the range of possibly the court considering deferred adjudication. Having known you for many, many years, Judge, having known you to be a defense attorney, a prosecutor, now a judge, I know that you've seen all sides of these coins for many, many years. When we take into account the fact that he denies this offense, that the state was kind enough to reduce this offense down and allow him to enter a plea with a possibility of deferred adjudication, even though we discussed many, many times, both with him and his family, about the prospects of possibly going to trial and maybe trying to fight this case, he decided that he suffers from anxiety himself. He's very, very nervous today. He's been shaking all morning, and it's obviously been a very nervous and uncomfortable time for him and his family. We would ask you to look at the big picture, Judge, and this big picture is this young man is denying that this offense occurred. We understand the state's position with regard to this complainant. We understand that this complainant has said some things, but remember, Judge, you've been in this job for a long time in all facets of it. And when you're dealing with witnesses this young, sometimes they are mistaken about things. Sometimes they do point the finger at the wrong person. Sometimes they do say things that are maybe exaggerated, perhaps. So based upon all that you have in front of you, Judge, given his wonderful family, his mother's just a wonderful human being, and I've gotten to know them quite a bit over this last year or so. And we would respectfully ask you to give him the opportunity to prove that he can do okay on your deferred adjudication. He's not going to break any rules. You will never see him on MTR. This is not the type of individual who's going to have any problems on probation. And because he is so nervous, Judge, that is why I chose not to call him as a witness. It's been difficult communicating with him this morning. He understands what's going on and stuff, but he's very nervous. He's very scared. Based upon all that, Judge, please give him that chance.
All right. So I just want the record to be clear. He is not requesting a jury trial.
He is not requesting a jury trial.
All right. All right. This is what the court is going to do. The court is going to deny your application, find you guilty. There is to be no contact with the complainant, Chapter 62 registration, $1,500 fine, time and money to rank and current, and the court will sentence you to 6 years in the prison. I'm going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement and actually I've given you something less than what you bargained for. You do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And counsel, I did take into consideration his age and everything that I've read in the PSI report. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. Do you understand? If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Mother begged for mercy. Judge Boyd said no. What do you think Judge Boyd's decision was fair? Should the defendant have received probation, or was prison the right outcome? Share your opinion in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more real courtroom cases. What began as a sentencing hearing quickly became an emotional courtroom battle over whether an 18-year-old defendant deserved a second chance or a prison sentence. Manuel Martinez appeared before Judge Boyd after entering a no contest plea to the lesser offense of indecency with a child by exposure. Under the plea agreement, he asked the court to consider deferred adjudication, hoping to avoid a felony conviction and prison time. His defense called one witness, his mother, fighting back emotion. She described her son as a hard-working student, a talented wrestler, and a young man who had sacrificed his own dreams to help support the family's daycare business. She insisted she never saw any warning signs and told the court she believed her son was innocent. She pleaded with Judge Boyd to give him probation, promising he would follow every rule and rebuild his life. But prosecutors painted a very different picture. They reminded the court that the victim was only 5 years old when the offense occurred. By the time of sentencing, the child was already taking medication for depression. Prosecutors argued that the victim's statements had remained consistent throughout the investigation and that the emotional damage would last a lifetime. They urged the court to reject probation and impose a prison sentence. After listening to both sides, reviewing the pre-sentence investigation, and reading letters submitted on the defendant's behalf, Judge Boyd announced her decision. The request for deferred adjudication was denied. Judge Boyd sentenced Manuel Martinez to 6 years in prison, imposed a $1,500 fine, ordered sex offender registration, and prohibited all contact with the child victim. Although the judge acknowledged the defendant's youth and considered his background, she concluded that the seriousness of the offense and the lasting impact on the young victim required a prison sentence. The hearing ended with a powerful reminder that, in cases involving young children, the court's highest priority is protecting victims and holding offenders accountable. What do you think? Did Judge Boyd make the right decision? Share your thoughts in the comments below.